Hello and welcome to the show coming to you from Madrid. Today we speak with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. The first UN Alliance of Civilizations Forum is underway in the Spanish capital, bringing together leading players from around the globe with one main mission: to heal the rift between the West and the Muslim world. The issues of prejudice and misunderstanding are high on the agenda, with a focus on youth. And on that front, Qatar's First Lady Sheikh Hamza has pledged $100 million towards a global youth employment fund. But what particular challenges does the Alliance of Civilizations face in trying to change the hearts and minds of the people who are on either side of the fence? And what role can those high-level groups committing to action play in changing things at the grassroots level? Well, lending his support to the first forum is the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who's our guest today as we come from the site of the first forum. Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for talking with us.
It's a great pleasure for me to meet with you.
Thank you, sir. I have to ask you, what has prompted the formation of the UN Alliance of Civilizations? What's the need to set up this new body? And what are you really, being realistic, what are you hoping to achieve?
We are living in a world of growing intolerance and growing cross-cultural conflict. If we do not address it properly, this may have a very serious impact on a broader peace and security of our world. Therefore, I'm encouraged that the governments of Spain and Turkey have taken initiative together with the United Nations. It is absolutely necessary at this time to help bridge the gaps between the cultures and civilizations, and we need to have more dialogues. This requires some political leadership.
Now, so the fact that most of the focus of the Alliance of Civilizations is on the divisions, the growing divisions, it seems, between the West and Muslims in particular, suggests that there is, I guess, there's some endorsement of this idea of a clash of civilizations. Do you believe that is the case?
First of all, I do not agree to the concept or notion that this is a clash among the civilization. When the distinguished expert level of a high-level panel discussed this issue, their conclusion was that this prejudice among the civilization and cultures is not the religious factor. It is political factors. That is why United Nations and Turkish Prime Minister, Spanish Prime Minister have jointly taken initiative to raise the awareness of a deeper understanding and appreciation among the civilization and cultures. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary that we need to bridge the gap between the cultures and civilizations. And we are living in a, unfortunately, very much unstable situation at this time because of a lack of appreciation and deeper understanding and respect for the cultures and civilization of others. It should not be seen as conflict between Western world as well and Muslim world.
How do you rate the involvement of the United States in this alliance? Because it seems fairly absent in the whole debate.
United Nations is the unique venue where all these issues of bridging the gap and making people appreciate more of the other civilization. United Nations is an intergovernmental body composed of 192 member states who come from all different backgrounds in terms of civilization and culture, political systems. Therefore, United Nations has been taking all necessary initiative. We have seen similar initiatives. I'm glad that the member states have taken very seriously to look at this issue.
But sir, when you have the United States leadership, current administration, using phrases like "you're with us" or "against us" when it comes to the so-called war on terror, that seems to be furthering the divide, increasing the divide that the alliance is trying to fight.
We are living in a globalization world with rapid economic development and communication and information technologies, but our efforts to have a deeper understanding and dialogue among civilization has not matched. That is why we have taken this initiative. We are the family of a whole international community. We are not here to talk about only about yours, only about ours. We are talking about our global world.
So who will be the key players in the alliance, taking part in this event, for example, who will translate the words into action? Because the big fear is there is a lot of speech about what should be done, but seeing the actual concrete results or concrete action is always the missing element. Who's going to make this happen?
First of all, we need some very strong, committed political leadership. Then there should be many actors. It's not only the job of politicians. It's the job of common efforts, media and business CEOs, academia and youth groups and religious leaders. They are all the common force to work together. This morning, we have already seen very concrete results. This Sheikha, Her Highness of Qatar, she has committed $100 million for Global Youth Employment Initiative. This is a very important. And also we have seen the Global Media Fund to enable the rapid media response to the reporters and the writers can address all these issues.
To what extent are the issues of the alliance, the issues the alliance is dealing with, being complicated by the fact that immigration is a major issue, especially in European countries, for example, where there seems to be something of a conflict with immigrants, especially coming from Muslim countries or of Muslim origin into European countries? That seems to be a major element. How does that complicate the work and the goals of the alliance?
Migration, immigration has become one of the very important issues which international community needs to look at seriously. With the globalization process rapidly going on, there has been a lot of movement between and among the countries. It is natural. And this migrant people, they have also contributed to the economic development and social integration of the countries where they immigrate. At the same time, we have seen some problems, how they can integrate into the countries and how they can adapt themselves to the changing world. And there have been some crimes and job opportunities and educations. That is why the United Nations, together with the government concerned, have initiated this first global forum on migration last year. That was very encouraging, and we are now looking for another second migration meeting in the Philippines this year. And with this progress going on, I'm sure that this will also help in our common efforts to advance the concept of alliance of civilization.
Sir, if I might put some of the email questions our viewers sent in advance, knowing that we would be speaking with you regarding the alliance and other issues like this. The first one I want to put to you, it came from Phil Noble in South Carolina in the USA. And Phil writes in saying, the internet can mobilize millions for united action, raise billions of dollars and create a global conversation. Isn't the UN missing a huge opportunity by not leading in this area? What must be done to make this happen?
United Nations will try to communicate with the international community in general, and I would encourage such kind of initiative at the grassroots level. This alliance of civilization is working together at the grassroots level, comprising all the level of people, starting from political leaders down to all civilians.
Do you think, sir, having the youth involvement, which I know is one of the major areas the alliance is focused on, do you think that can really make the difference because perhaps young people don't carry the baggage of the previous generations?
Yes, the future depends upon how our young leaders will shape their future. That is why this alliance of civilization as one of a concrete project has received this very generous offer of $100 million, the main priority should be given how to educate our young leaders for the future so that they will be free from this conflict and lack of appreciation of civilization and cultures.
So I have to ask you another email. This came in from a Naila Abuhaj. I'm not sure where from, but Naila writes in saying, the main job of the UN and Security Council is to ensure world peace, but the UN is not a fair organization. Even George Bush has come out and said it is ineffective. So of course a critic here of the UN. How would you address that? The lack of faith some people have.
United Nations is aspiring for peace and security, human rights and development. These are three pillars of the United Nations Charter. United Nations is the only and unique intergovernmental body in the world. You will not be able to find any alternative or substitute of the United Nations, and therefore how to nurture the capacities and ideals of the United Nations is aspiring. That would be very much important for whole international communities in working to achieve all these pillars.
Of course, each Secretary General inherits a UN that's been shaped to some degree by his or her predecessor, or his predecessor up to now. And Paula Varley from Norfolk in the United Kingdom wrote in saying, what lessons does the Secretary General take from his predecessor, Kofi Annan?
United Nations, with all these noble goals and objectives, have been criticized for its inefficiency, ineffectiveness, and lack of transparency or accountability. And United Nations is also limited with resources in addressing and dealing with all the challenges. As Secretary General, from the day one of my office since January last year, I have been doing my best efforts to make this organization more trustful vis-a-vis international community by making this organization more efficient, more mobile, multitask, and also transparent and accountable.
Now, on the issue of the Alliance of Civilizations again, Mr. Secretary General, I have to ask you, one of the key areas that's been identified as a major factor in affecting the relationship between the West and the Muslim world, as it's been identified, is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That's something that's been going on for decades. It's obviously met so many stumbling blocks. I wonder how much of a roadblock it is for the UN, Alliance of Civilizations, in trying to resolve the other issues. I mean, can the Alliance achieve its goals without some kind of resolution between Israelis and Palestinians?
If we advance this concept of Alliance of Civilization, I'm quite confident that we can achieve and facilitate the ongoing peace process between Israeli and Palestinians. Unfortunately, we are living in a very unfortunate world of mistrust and lack of dialogue, and that is a fact of our life. However, with this new initiative, we must try to resolve these Israeli-Palestinian issues and also conflicts in Iraq and Lebanon and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, all these regional conflict issues have given very negative damage to the relationship between Western world as well as Muslim world. This is unfortunate. That is why we are now trying our best efforts to bridge the gaps. As a Secretary General, I have taken actively in quartet process to address these Israeli-Palestinian issues through a peace process, and also I have taken all my efforts to address the situation in Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Somalia, and Darfur. With all this progress going on, I'm sure that we'll be able to live in a much better and much more harmonious and prosperous world.
Of course, one of the issues the UN faces in its day-to-day work, and it's a big challenge, is being a large, essentially democratic body. It risks treading on sovereign states' own laws and regulations when trying to come out with a globally acceptable mandate. So how can the Alliance come up with something strong that will make a difference without treading on the toes of the sovereign states' rights?
we need to be more tolerant and more understanding of the cultures and civilization and traditions and political system of each and every member states of the United Nations and international community as a whole. This is the basic core concept of alliance of civilization. It may take a longer time than we have expected, but it is very worthwhile trying and marching toward the goal of achieving more prosperous, more harmonious world through dialogue, through more deeper understandings and appreciation of culture and civilization.
One of the key things that's creating a buzz at the Alliance of Civilizations First Forum is the idea of a rapid response media mechanism. The idea that perhaps in times of cross-cultural difficulties, such as when the Danish cartoons caused an outcry in the Muslim world through the portrayal of the Prophet Muhammad, the media would be able to find resources to use some kind of response mechanism that would avoid cultural conflict. How do you see that mechanism working, sir?
I would stress the important role of media in addressing this conflict of civilization as well as understandings. Therefore, it is very pertinent and encouraging that we have adopted this rapid media response mechanism, and we have also received quite significant amount of generous contribution.
What do you expect, sir, to be the next steps then? The Alliance has its first meeting. A number of meetings of the high-level group have come up with suggestions. What do you expect to be the next steps out of the conference, the forum, that would actually be visible in societies, in communities?
On the basis of ideas and areas for action and recommendation through this first forum, we are going to build upon this process, and we will have a second forum in Turkey next year. We must build upon all this process until we will be able to have a fuller dialogue, fuller appreciation on this alliance of civilization.
And sir, from your initial meetings with people attending this first forum, what sense do you get of a feeling of optimism, perhaps a feeling that the various parties coming together can achieve something? Is there any sense of that it may not be effective enough, or do you feel a sense that people are here with a common mission?
As I said in my opening remarks, I came here with a much more sense of optimism than worry. If we try hard, based on this initiative and motivations which have been demonstrated by so many delegations, represented by many number of heads of state and government, many distinguished ministers, as well as religious leaders, academians, and media executives. This is a very encouraging development on this very important concept of alliance of civilization. I'm very much optimistic. I'm convinced, and as Secretary General of the United Nations, I will spare no efforts to fully support this process moving on.
Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for speaking with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we'll continue to bring our show to you out of Madrid all this week. Don't forget also, if you have any interesting issues you'd like us to cover, send your emails to riz@aljazeera.net. We'll see you next time. Street Talk is next.